Welcome to Anav's Travel Channel. Today we'll be discussing about one country in specific, and I will present to you information to promote travel and business in that country. So the country we're going to discuss about today is Bangladesh. It is originally referred to as the country of Bengal, officially the People's Republic of Bangladesh. It is a sovereign country in South Asia. It forms the largest and eastern portion of the ethno-linguistic region of Bengal. Located at the highest point of the Bay of Bengal, Bangladesh is bordered by India and Myanmar, and is separated from Nepal and Bhutan by the narrow Siliguri corridor. Bangladesh is the world's 8th most populous country, the 5th most populous in Asia, and the 3rd most populous among Muslim majority countries. The official Bengali language is the 10th most spoken language in the world, which Bangladesh shares with neighboring Indian states of West Bengal and Tripura. So the three of Asia's largest rivers are the Ganges, locally known as the Padma, the Brahmaputra, locally known as the Jamuna, and the Meghna, flow through Bangladesh and form the fertile Bengal Delta, the largest delta in the world. With rich biodiversity, Bangladesh is home to 700 rivers, most of the world's largest mangrove forest, and tea-growing highlands. It is also home to a 600-kilometer coastline with one of the world's longest beaches, called Cox's Bazar, and various islands, including a coral reef. Bangladesh is one of the most densely populated countries in the world, ranking alongside South Korea and Monaco. The urban centers are spread across the country, with the capital Dhaka and the port city Chittagong being the most prominent. The predominant ethnic group are Bengalis, along with numerous minorities including Chakmas, Garos, Marmas, Tangchanese, Bisnupuriya, Manipuris, Santals, Biharis, Orayons, Tripuris, Mundas, Rakhines, and Rohingyas. So it is considered a middle power in international affairs and a major developing country. Bangladesh is listed as one of the next 11. It is a unitary state with 8 administrative divisions and an elected parliament called the Jatiya Sanshad. Bangladesh has the 3rd largest economy and military in South Asia after India and Pakistan. It is the founding member of the SAARC and hosts the permanent secretariat of the BIMSTEC. The country is the world's largest contributor to the United Nations peacekeeping operations. It is part of the Commonwealth of Nations, the World Trade Organization, and the Indian Ocean Rim Association. The country has significant natural resources including natural gas, limestone, and coal. Agriculture mainly produces rice, jute, and tea. Now let's move on to the geographic information of Bangladesh.
Now, this is going to be really fun because Bangladesh has some of the most confusing territories on the planet. First of all, the country is located in Asia, east of India, and almost completely surrounded by India, including that narrow little Siliguri corridor, or the chicken's neck of India, the small but reasonably sized border with Myanmar in the southeast, and the Bay of Bengal located to the south. The capital and largest city is Dhaka, located in the lower central region right above the Padma River and the Ganges Delta. And it is with great honor that I present to you the country with the second most enclaves in the entire world, Bangladesh, right after India. When you hit the north of Bangladesh in the Rangpur region, all hell breaks loose and suddenly you see this huge mess of territories that are sprinkled around the entire border, owned and marked by each side. It gets especially messy when you go to the north of the Tista River by the Bengali town of Petgram and see a smorgasbord of over 60 enclaves and exclaves scattered in a weird random order that makes no sense. Many of these enclaves are first order and second order enclaves, that's enclaves inside of enclaves, and the world's only third-order enclave, Dahala Kagrabari 51, a small crop field barely the size of 2 acres. This land is a piece of India within Bangladesh within India within Bangladesh. Dahala Kagrabari 51 is actually owned by a Bengali farmer who lives on the Bengali side, even though the land kind of belongs to India. Most of these enclaves are farmlands that were owned by families mixed in with the area long before the borders were drawn up by the British, which is why some areas don't relent their property to the other country. The Indian and Bangladeshi governments have announced their intentions to resolve the issue by swapping 162 enclaves enclaves by giving residents a choice of nationality. However, the process isn't really moving and is kind of stuck in a red tape limbo. As we'll soon find out, Bangladesh's land is shaped heavily by the landscape and immense river systems that flow through the entire country, like vital bloodstreams fostering life to the entire region. One thing you have to understand is that Bangladesh's largest resource is their rivers. In fact, the Bengal Delta is the largest delta in the world, and the country has more trans-boundary rivers than anywhere else at 58. This means that they share rivers with both India and Myanmar. Altogether though, Bangladesh has about 700 main rivers, the largest ones being the Padma, or better known as the Ganges in India, and the Jamuna, or the Brahmaputra. This is actually pretty impressive considering that Bangladesh is only about half the size of the UK. Now, because of all the rivers and the silt deposits, natural irrigation and land cultivation is amazing. Bangladesh is an ecological gem. In fact, some of the most fertile soil in the world is found in Bangladesh, allowing them to grow thousands upon thousands of different crops, plants, and orchards. One thing they're especially known for growing is jute. Bangladesh is generally split up into two different separate regions: the low-lying flat delta, where most of the land is only at 10 meters or less above sea level, and the small hilly plains mostly in the north, northeast, and southeast by Chittagong. Speaking of Chittagong, Bangladesh has the world's longest uninterrupted beach in the world, Cox's Bazar. This place goes on and on for 75-ish miles. However, Bengalis would kind of prefer if you didn't check out the north part by Batiari, because it kind of looks a little trashy. It's a huge ship graveyard where companies all over the world like to dispose of their old ships, where the people of the region can break apart and salvage the pieces for profit. Now, Bangladesh is of course blessed with fertility. Often villages are buried underneath mango and coconut and jackfruit trees, and beautiful forests with an abundance of flora and fauna, such as the Sundarbans, the world's largest mangrove forest, which is kind of like the last place where you can find the Bengali tiger. However, there is a problem. Bangladesh is kind of subject to terrible tropical storms almost every year, and sometimes even tornadoes. On top of that, during annual monsoon season, the rivers get so swollen that 2/3 of Bangladesh's 64 districts typically experience flooding that causes extensive property damage, loss of communications, loss of drinking water, loss of crops, and leads to the spread of disease, which eventually leads to death. It's kind of crazy though, because for such an environmentally rich area, the country has to deal with almost equally damaging environmental challenges.
Furthermore, let's discuss the demographic information of Bangladesh, which includes its population and more.
Bangladesh's people have a very unique story in that they kind of had to fight 2 rounds for 2 separate independences, one of them from the British and the other from Pakistan. Bangladesh was for a long time part of the British Empire. However, after the British left, they separated the region into 2 states and 3 regions, the predominantly Hindu state being India and the predominantly Muslim state being West Pakistan and East Pakistan, which is now known as modern-day Bangladesh. West Pakistan administered East Pakistan, and the capital at the time was Karachi and was also located in West Pakistan. Despite the fact that both sides were Muslim, they had very little in common both culturally and linguistically. East Pakistan eventually became furious because they felt as though they were being taken over by Pakistan, and especially angry when Pakistan tried to establish and institute Urdu as the official language, and almost nobody spoke it, as everybody there spoke Bengali. Wars, fighting, yada yada. They gained their independence in 1971 and joined the UN. Done. Once again, let me remind you guys, this is geography now, not history now. Now, as mentioned before, Bangladesh is very dense in their population, with a population of about 160 million people. In fact, if you exclude the city-states like Singapore and Hong Kong, although Hong Kong is technically under Chinese sovereignty, Bangladesh is the most densely populated country in the world and the 8th most populous. The country is predominantly Muslim, and about 86% of the adherents being Sunni or Sufi Muslim, and about 12% are Hindu, and the remaining 2% are mostly Christian and Buddhist.
As a visitor, people would want to know what are some places to visit or attractions, so let's discuss about some places to visit in Bangladesh. As a businessman or corporation, it is very important to know the local customs, events, and holidays of the country. So let's discuss Bangladesh's customs, events, and its local holidays that it celebrates. In terms of customs in Bangladesh, the handshake is common although they may feel rather limp. Greetings usually take place between members of the same sex. In general, age dictates how people are addressed. If people are of the same age, they use first names. If the person being addressed is older than the speaker, the person is called by their first name and a suffix that denotes the family relationship. In terms of the gift giving, gifts are mainly given between family members at religious holidays, especially after Ramadan and Hajj. In cities, it is becoming more common for gifts to be given on birthdays. So one of the big events Bangladeshi celebrate is Pohila Boishakh, and that is the Bengali New Year's Day. It is the festival marking the start of the Bengali year. Another very important event is called the Shadinata Divos, which is the Independence Day. This day marks the official declaration of the independence of Bangladesh and start of the Bangladesh Liberation War. And the very important events that celebrate in Bangladesh is called Eid. Eid al-Fitr is the Muslim festival marking the end of the month of Ramadan, festival of fast breaking, and also Eid al-Adha, which is the Muslim festival of sacrifice. In order to do successful business, a corporation must know the business etiquettes of a country. So let's talk about the different business etiquettes that Bangladesh offers. Bangladeshis tend to communicate in long, rich, and contextualized sentences which only make sense when properly understood in relation to the body language. So personal space is less of an issue in Bangladesh than many European cultures. Bengalis stand close when speaking to someone of the same gender and touch is common. However, when speaking with a woman, this space is often increased. In terms of meeting and greeting, business etiquette in Bangladesh is reasonably formal. Proper behavior is expected. Men greet each other with a handshake upon arriving and leaving. Foreign men should nod to a Bangladeshi woman only if she extends her hand. In terms of business card etiquette, business cards are exchanged after the initial introduction. Educational qualifications are valued, so included any university degrees, and you should present your business card with your right hand treat your business cards given to you with respect. In terms of business meetings in Bangladesh are generally the place where decisions are disseminated rather than made. They will usually be led by the most senior present who sets the agenda, the content, and the pace of the activities. Meeting structures are not very linear in Bangladesh. There may be an agenda and a starting time, but they only serve as guidelines. Completing a meeting fully takes priority over time and may extend well past any scheduled end time. Meetings may commence with some small talk, and communication is formal and follows a hierarchical structure. Difference to the most senior person in the group is expected. This is especially true when dealing with government officials. In order to get some background history, let's talk about the economy in brief. Bangladesh is a developing country with a market-based mixed economy and is listed as one of the next 11 emerging markets. The per capita income of Bangladesh was $1,190 in 2014, with a GDP of $209 billion. In South Asia, Bangladesh has the third largest economy after those of India and Pakistan, and has the second highest foreign exchange reserves after India. In terms of the primary industry, Bangladesh is notable for its fertile land, including the Ganges Delta, the Sylhet Division, and the Chittagong Hill Tracts. Agriculture is the single largest producing sector of the economy since it comprises about 18.6% of the country's GDP and employs around 45% of the total labor force. In terms of the secondary industry, the Bangladesh textile industry is the largest manufacturing sector, accounting for $25 billion in exports in 2014. Leather goods manufacturing, particularly in footwear, is the second largest export-oriented industrial sector. The pharmaceutical industry in Bangladesh meets 97% of domestic demand and exports to 52 countries. The The shipbuilding industry in Bangladesh has also been rapidly growing with exports to Europe. The tertiary sector includes the service sector and accounts for 51% of the GDP. Bangladesh ranks with Pakistan in having the second largest banking sector in South Asia. Let's also take a look at the political history of Bangladesh in brief. The politics of Bangladesh takes place in the framework of a multi-party parliamentary representative democracy, modeled on the Westminster system of the unicameral parliamentary government. Traditionally, Bangladesh has been a two-party system since democracy was restored in 1990. However, concerns over the fairness of elections and annulment of the caretaker government system led to a boycott of the national election in 2014 by major opposition parties. Critics have accused the government of trying to turn Bangladesh into a dominant party state under the ruling of the Awami League. So the Bangladesh state has a unitary structure with the central government in Dhaka, which is the capital of Bangladesh. It has the executives, which is the Prime Minister, who is the head of the government and is appointed by the President with the confidence of the majority in Parliament. The Prime Minister heads the cabinet of Bangladesh, which holds the executive power. The President is the head of the state with key ceremonial duties. The legislative includes 350 MPs in the Jatiyo Sangshad. It is headed by the Speaker of Parliament, who is second in line to the presidency. The Prime Minister is traditionally the leader of the House and the single largest party. The leader of the opposition heads the main opposition in the House. In terms of the judicial, the legal system of Bangladesh is primarily in accordance with English common law. The higher judiciary consists of the Supreme Court, which includes an appellate division, and the Bangladesh High Court. Infrastructure is one of the major aspects of our country. Here are the infrastructure information of Bangladesh. Transport is a major sector in the Bangladesh economy. The aviation industry has seen rapid growth and includes the national flag carrier Biman and other privately owned airlines. The country has a 2,706-kilometer rail network operated by the Bangladesh Railway. It has one of the largest inland waterway networks in the world, with 8,046 kilometers of navigable waterways. The southeastern port of Chittagong is its busiest seaport, handling over $60 billion in annual trade, and has more than 80% of the country's export-import trade pass through Chittagong. It is also home to the second busiest seaport, which is Mongla in southwestern Bangladesh. In terms of energy, electricity generation in Bangladesh had an installed capacity of 10,289 megawatts in January 2014. Commercial energy consumption is mostly natural gas, which is around 56%, followed by oil, hydropower, and coal. Like other countries, Bangladesh also has many powerful local corporations. Let's take a look at some. Like many other countries, Bangladesh also has various famous people that are known around the globe. Let's take a look at some of the people who are very famous in Bangladesh. Thank you for watching Anav's Travel Channel, and I hope you learned something interesting about Bangladesh, and I hope this video entices people to travel to Bangladesh or do business in Bangladesh. Thank you.